Hi everybody, it's great to be back here again tomorrow. It's Friday, Parasahat Chayey, a beautiful portion, a beautiful custom we have when thousands go up to the city of the patriarchs and the matriarchs to celebrate this week's portion where Abraham makes that everlasting purchase of the tomb of the patriarchs. And it's so connected to current events where we see this week the United States made an amazing announcement. We're so proud of Donald Trump. He continues to really show his love for Israel by declaring that the legality of the communities, the settlements of Judea and Samaria, which is so simple for us, and is exactly what this week's portion is all about, our everlasting kinyan, acquisition to the land of Israel, but the world has to be taught and let the world follow suit. I just heard a report this week. They say 1 out of every 4 Europeans are anti-Semitic. There has to be a change in world opinion, the way they relate to Israel. And when people come along, great leaders, and they show their allegiance to Israel, it is beautiful and will bring them a blessing. And we pray that he will be blessed, Donald Trump, for the wonderful ways behaving towards Israel, and let America follow his light. In Israel, we've been having a lot of difficulty with our political situation. This lack of unity is literally affecting our weather patterns. We haven't had no rain in Israel. Our unity brings rain. We have disunity. We don't have rain. It's been a drought so far. We expected the year to start with rain. We had one rain, a big one, not that big, but it's been very dry, and we're praying that this changes. Now, on top of everything else, this week, the blue and white party weren't able to set up a government, so now it looks like we're going for elections again. And then, boom, they announced that they want to indict the prime minister. Bibi, we bless that he will prove his innocence, because Bibi was a great prime minister, a great leader of Israel. He's done so much. And unfortunately, the disrespect that we see, the way they relate to him, like a criminal, God forbid. And we know that there are so many political leaders that got presence or that got positive coverage on the news, but they're making a big deal about Tzimmis. Tzimmis is not, it's ridiculous. But anyway, let's hope he will prove his innocence, and we hope, of course, we know that God is pushing us forward for another stage of the process of Israel and the world redemption. It's all part of the Gula process. So we have to always stand steadfast in our faith in Hashem and realize that going forward. At the same time, we see we're threatened by the Iranians. There was bombings this week in the Golan Heights. Israel retaliated. The situation is very volatile. But again, we're living in special times. And our understanding of the portions of our cleaving to the land will give us strength and energy to overcome all these obstacles. I'd like to mention this week's portion. There's so much to talk about, but we'll talk about the fact that Abraham says to his servant, I want you to go and bring a wife for my son Isaac and for my family, which is outside of Israel. And he makes him swear. So then we see in Genesis 24 that Abraham makes his servant swear that he will not bring Isaac outside of the land of Israel, but only the servant will go. And if for some reason she doesn't want to come, the wife intended for Isaac doesn't want to come to Israel, do not allow Isaac to leave the land. So we see the importance of Isaac being in the land of Israel, not leaving the land of Israel, cleaving to the land of Israel. That's the message. You must remain in the land. But interesting, in Jewish law, we know that Maimonides brings it down, is that there are a few reasons a person is allowed to leave the land. And one of them is in order to get a wife. You can go out of the land, get the wife, and come back home. So we see that there was a very special relationship with Isaac in the land of Israel that Abraham did not want Isaac in any way, no way to leave the land, but he wanted him to stay in the land, steadfast in the land of Israel under all circumstances. Now this was brought down in the Midrash. The Midrash brings a couple of reasons. Number one, we saw that he was the one who was offered as the Akedah, right? He was the perfect offering, and therefore someone who's as holy as Isaac's level, he can't leave the land of Israel. And we see the Radak, another commentary, explains that he was holding up the land, and if God forbid, if Isaac would have left, the land, would be left without the foundation of the land, which was Isaac. So for these reasons, we see why Abraham was so careful not allowing Isaac to leave. Maimonides brings down in the Laws of Kings the beautiful praise to the land of Israel, how our rabbis would literally kiss the stones and the earth, and they would say, your servants want the stones, and they cherish the earth of the land. And how anyone who leaves Israel is like worshiping idols. Anyone who leaves the land of Israel is like worshiping idols, literally. And this they learn now from the story of King David. King David was being chased by Saul, we know, before he became the king. Saul was very threatened by David because he knew that King David was was a great soldier and he was going to replace his throne. He felt it. And he sent out spies looking all over Israel for where King David's hiding out, and he found that he was hiding out in the desert called Mazif. He sends 3,000 soldiers. He's coming to look for King David, and they went at night. They went to sleep. King Saul and his general Avner ben Ner, Avner the son of Ner, and they're sleeping in a circle with all the soldiers around them. And King David sent out his spies, and he realized they were right there. And King David says, "Who's coming with me to go to the camp of King Saul?" So Avishai, the son of Yoav, the brother, of Yoav, the general of King David, he said, "I'll go with you." And King David, they go into the camp and they see them all sleeping. And Avishai yells out, "Let me just take one spear, and I'll just spear his soul, and it'll be all over." And King David says, "Don't put your hands on the anointed one. Let God punish him, but we're not going to do that. We can't strike someone anointed." And then King David takes the spear of Saul and his water jug, and he goes back to a high place. And then he yells out, "Avner ben Ner, Avner, the general of Saul, you're not watching the king. How can you do something like this?" And right away King Saul says, "Is that you, King David? Is that you talking?" And King David says, "What do you want from me? What did I do?" And then King David says something so powerful. He says, "If I have to run away and leave Israel to go amongst the Philistines, so it is like you are forcing me to leave the land. It's like telling me I'm worshiping idols." So we see from the words of King David, having to leave the land of Israel is like worshiping idols. You can't leave the land. You right away get totally lowered in your spiritual level. The land, we must maintain ourselves in the land of Israel. And this is what Abram was afraid of. He didn't want to let Isaac go. Leaving the land of Israel is a terrible thing. And here we see it from the story of King David. There's the beautiful words of the Nesiv Miviloshin. The Nesiv is one of the great masters of Torah, of more modern times. He was born around the year 1817, passed away in 1893. And his name was Rav Naftali Tzvi Berlin. And very famous, he's known as the Netziv of Volozhin. He was born in the city of Mir, the famous city of Mir, and died later on in Warsaw, in Poland. And he wrote a commentary, a very powerful commentary on the Torah, which shows his brilliance in so many different areas of everything in the Torah. And I'd like to read just a little bit, which connects to what we're talking about. He says like this, he says, "Let me tell you a rule, and you'll understand in all the portions of the book of Genesis." He says like this, Shel Avram, it's about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Sheba lelamdeinu, that comes to teach us the power of these three pillars of divine providence. Torah, avodah, divine worship, that refers to prayer, and gimilut chasadim, and love and kindness. And he says each one of our forefathers represent one of these things. He goes, every one of our forefathers has a special treasure, like he's focusing on one of these points. They all have all of them, but everyone stands out in one of these points. And he says something very interesting, that Isaac represents prayer, tefillah. And why, as we all know, when Isaac goes out to pray, the minute he finishes prayer, what happens? All of a sudden Rebecca comes along. He has the power of prayer. And prayer is connected because it says Isaac goes out to pray in the field, lasuach basadeh, to talk in the field. The field represents bounty. That's where the bounty comes from. So Isaac has the power of parnasah, bringing down the beautiful bounty of our livelihood. And therefore Isaac, the way, understanding the whole concept of Isaac, he explains the Netzivim Volozhin. One of the reasons Isaac couldn't leave the land, of course, he brings down that he was Olat Mimah, that he was this, as we mentioned in the Midrash, that he was this perfect sacrifice. Right? He couldn't leave, he was on a very holy level. But with his developing this whole thing, he talks about how Isaac was the foundation of Parnasah in the land of Israel, of prayer, tefillah. And that, if we look at it in that respect, that Isaac is literally in the land, all the bounty is dependent upon our prayers and our avodat Hashem. And he shows how it's connected to the temple, to the Beit HaMikdash, the house of prayer. So Israel's bounty and success, of course, is all tied up within, it's all bounded up, the binding of Isaac, right? Within where the place where Isaac was bound, on the Har Moriah, on the temple, and in the way Isaac has the power of prayer. And this entity was so powerful of Isaac that he couldn't afford to leave for a second the land of Israel. The whole bounty and the Parasahat, the livelihood of the land is dependent upon Isaac's being in the land of Israel. We can't let him leave for 1 second, because he was holding up the fortress, exactly, holding up the fortress of the land of Israel, and he wasn't able to leave for 1 second the land. So this is really a beautiful explanation I saw. It's a great Torah to learn alone, just to read about all the forefathers, what each one did, what each one represented. It's fascinating teaching of the Nitzivim of Eloshin. So putting all this together, we see again, cleaving to the land of Israel and being here is vital for the safety and for the future of Israel, the people of Israel. All the bounty and everything depends upon our strengthening ourselves and making ourselves this pillars of holding up the land. And of course, holding up the land means connecting ourselves to our forefathers in the city of the patriarchs and the matriarchs. Here where I am in the city of Shechem, where Abraham first entered the land of Israel. And this is the Bible about the essential portions of the land, the most vital portions which represent our history, our beginning. We have to cling onto the land with all the heart and soul, and we can't let up for one moment. This will bring us an everlasting blessing of bounty, of abundance and livelihood in our building of our temple, only through the clinging of the land of Israel. And that's why, again, as I began before mentioning, the announcements of Israel, the settlements being legalized, for us, we don't need, these announcements are important, of course, but for us, of course, this is our lifeline. And we can't, God forbid, think about possibly giving up our heart, ripping our hearts out by saying we're illegal. This is the way we connect to Hashem. We bring bounty to Israel, and we bring bounty to the entire world, only through a strong, unified land of Israel. Shabbat Shalom, Besorot Tavot, Yeshuot V'Nechamot.